Thank you to Base44 for sponsoring this video. Click the link in the description to go to Base44. So there's another big update with Base44, and we're going to dig into it today. So the founder of Base44 just put out a post to say that you can now pull NPM packages directly into your apps. So to get a sense of what this means, they released a quick demo video. So it has charts, better design, better animations. Looks really cool. So we're going to dig into this, build some real apps, and pull in some NPM packages to see how it actually works. So one example of this is Radix UI. So as you can see, it's pulling in really nice UI. So this is one that we can use in our Base44 prompt. Another one is Anime.js, which is an all-in-one animation engine in JavaScript. So it animates CSS. And finally, another one is Recharts, the ability to build charts. So first of all, right off the bat, we're going to use Gemini 3 Pro. This is a new model released by Google. I have a bunch of videos that I've released lately on Gemini 3. So if you're interested in learning more about it, check out those videos. So I'm curious to see how well it does inside of Base44. So that would be another thing that we'll dig into in this video a little bit more. So let's start with this simple prompt. I'm going to build a Kanban board software. I'm inspired by a tool that the 37 Signals team recently released called Fizzy. This is the team behind Basecamp, and it's kind of gone a little bit viral on X this week. So it inspired me to see if we can build our own version of Fizzy. It's kind of like Trello, but maybe a simplified version of it on Base44. And we'll use these NPM packages that I mentioned to see if we can take things to the next level and how well it all works. So in addition to the initial simple prompt, I'm going to say I want you to install the NPM package Anime.js and use it to fade in the header and animate the buttons on the page. So we'll start with something simple. And what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to use Recharts to build charts into it for analytics. I think that could be a cool way to also do it. So right off the bat, on the left side, we can see Base44 by default is going to be planning. So it's planning the next steps. If we just kind of go around the editor a little bit, if you're new to Base44, you have the dashboard and the preview. So the dashboard's going to be visible once we actually have something to see. So already on the left side, we can see Base44 is installing the NPM package. So it's adding that package to the code. That is really cool to see. And this is kind of a hack. If you didn't know that this was a possibility, you wouldn't even know that you could do that. You would have had to be on X, read the founder of Base44's post to know. There's not like a UI to do that. So if you're watching this video, you're already ahead of the curve. So it's installing it and it's going to add what we asked. So we're curious to see what it actually looks like and install some more packaging. A new beta feature that I see here on Base44, this is new. On the Builder Pro and Elite plans, they're allowing you to export your app to GitHub. So actually get your code off of Base44. This is something that a lot of people have been asking for a while. So it's cool to see that they are adding that feature. We also have the ability to share, so you can work with other people as well inside of Base44. Then we can also publish our app and other people can access it on the internet. I thought I was on a paid plan, but it looks like I'm not. So I might go ahead and upgrade just so we can make sure we have all of the top features here inside of Base44. We don't run out of credits. There is an error, and what's nice about Base44 is it will tell you when there's issues and you can just press a button to fix with AI, and we'll see if that resolves it. There's other debugging tactics that we could do if it doesn't work, but let's see if just the one button click is able to solve it. It looks like it has something to do with the dragging feature in a Kanban board of going from bringing a task to different stages. So it looks like it has something to do with that. We'll see if it's able to be resolved with that fix. And we have our first build here to test out. Looks like we can add columns. So I'll say backlog. We add another column, although it didn't seem to create it to do. Create column. If I refresh, let's see if it actually shows up. Otherwise, we're going to do some live debugging here. Yeah, it's not showing up. And if I go into the dashboard, so I can go to the data tab, I can see, yeah, it looks like maybe they were created backlog and to do, but they're not showing up in the preview. So that's actually helpful information. So I can kind of share that with Base44 and say, I see that when I add columns, they do show up in the database, but not in the UI. And it looks like there should already be some columns by default. If I go to columns, I can see it looks like it started with to do, progress, and done, and it added those by default, but those weren't shown in the UI either. So none of the data from the database is showing in the UI currently. So hopefully Base44 is able to resolve that. Also, I can see here that there is another package that was installed for the Kanban board. So the Hello Pangea. This is basically, it is a package that's helping us create those draggable cards, which is interesting that it actually did add additional packages on its own. So like I said before, I guess initially it did add one of the packages that I asked for, because I asked for the Anime.js package, but based on the task, what it's building, it added another one. So that's interesting that it was able to do that. So maybe they have like a library of these packages that the AI can intelligently decide what to use. Not really sure how they're doing it behind the scenes. I'm looking to see some other packages that could be interesting to add. But in the meantime, I can see that this is now working correctly, and we can see the two that we created. So we created to do backlog, those are showing up as well. And then the other ones that it created by default, to do, progress, and done, are there. So if I add a column or actually not add a column, why don't I add a task? See how to do this. It seems like I can't scroll down to the bottom. So this is where, again, this is how it works when you're building with AI, going back and forth. I'm going to go back to the chat and say, now I see the columns, but I don't see a way to actually add tasks. Maybe the columns are too long because I see it's going down, or it could be something else. So I'll send that message as well. Something else to keep in mind, anytime if you do get stuck, you can go back and revert to a previous build. So let's say I send this message and it keeps building, but it's actually not working very well. It makes it worse. Then I could go back and revert and start over with a new message. That way you don't kind of keep going down a rabbit hole where the AI is having trouble. That's something that can be really helpful to know when you're building with Base44 or any AI app building tool. Sometimes if you kind of keep going down the wrong path, then it gets harder to resolve instead of just reverting to something that worked previously and then kind of going down a different path. And there we go. That actually did solve it. So we can see now that add task buttons are there. So it looked like it was just a layout issue. So if I add a task and I can say, go to the gym. So it'd be a personal task list. And let's just create the task. And there we go. So now I see it. And it looks like I can drag it. There is like a little bit of an animation issue, or it flickers back for a second. So that could be something to fix, but it is working, which is cool. So before we kind of get into that design fix, I want to try another NPM package, because that's kind of the focus of the video and something I want to spend a little bit more time on. So I was doing a little bit of research here, and there's something called React Joyride, which basically is something that helps create walkthrough bubbles to highlight parts of the screen for a new user. So what I'm going to do is have a prompt here that says install React Joyride, create a 3-step tour that highlights the add task button, then the columns, and then finally I'll say log out button, because we don't have a settings menu yet. So I'm going to send that, and let's see how it does with these like additional packages. And this is something that's cool. Like maybe one day Base44 could have like a little menu that pops out with all these packages as ideas. I was using Gemini to come up with some ideas of different packages that we could install, but I could see that being integrated even more. And this is something that, like, as I think about the future of AI coding, like, there's so much more that can be done just in the interface of the actual AI app building software. Okay, so yeah, I did run out on the free plan. I thought I was on the paid plan. I'm going to upgrade real quick and we'll jump back in. And we are back, and here it sees the NPM package, and it just wants me to approve or reject it. So I'm going to approve. So it installs the package. It's a cool little UI that they actually have of installing packages. So it's finished. It implemented the 3-step tour, and right off the bat, here it is. So I can see this is a really cool intro tour that it created. Here are the columns. I'm going to click next. It has the log out button and what's last. That's it. Okay, so it worked. Okay, I think that it was actually a little bit buggy. It seemed to start on step 2 and then go to step 3, and then now there's kind of this extra space over here. So it worked, but there are bugs. So let's try to actually resolve it. So first I'm going to take a screenshot here just to give it a little bit more information. So I'm going to say it kind of works, but was buggy. Started on step 2, and when it was done, added this extra space on the right side. Can we fix this and make it run super well? So you'll see if that actually resolves it. So I'm just pulling in my Gemini chat here. So this is where I found the React Joyride NPM package. Other ones, data visualization. So I was talking about that before. I think recharts or Nivo. This could be interesting because it's beautiful and unique. If you want charts that look like they were designed by a pro graphic designer. Another one that could be cool is React Confetti, to have confetti fall down the screen when the user completes a task. So I think that would actually be another cool one to do. So maybe we can implement both of those. So it says it fixed the bugs. Why don't I refresh the page and we can test it and see? There we go. Okay. That's actually cool. Now, because we didn't see that at first, step 1. So add task, next, columns, perfect, next, log out, perfect, done. Yeah, it fixed it. That's cool. Okay. So now that it did that, let's go with the confetti, because I think that would be cool. So I'm going to say install React Confetti. Let me paste this in. Trigger confetti explosion for 5 seconds when the user clicks, or not when the user clicks marker zone, when the user drags to done. So I think that would be cool. After that, maybe we'll work on like some of the animation to just make that smoother so it doesn't actually flicker. And it's going to ask me to approve. So I'll go ahead and approve the React Confetti. So we can test this again. So right now it's having me do it every single time, but we can always change that in the future to be just for like new users. So let's take this task, put it into done. And there we go. We have some confetti from the package that we installed. So it's cool that it was able to do that. The next thing that I would like to do is make this smoother. It's just kind of annoying me. So let's see if we can do that. So I'll say when we drag a task into a new column, it flickers back to the previous column for a second before going to the new one. Can this be fixed? So it looks like the AI was also smart enough to understand the reason behind it. So it's saying it's implementing optimistic updates to update the UI immediately when dragging, which prevents the flicker. So what's happening is we're dragging, then it's updating the database, and then it's going back and fix it and like updating it again. It's waiting until it's updated. So that's the difference. So here, now, if it's optimistic, it means it's going to update the UI even before the database is actually updated. So let's drag it. And there we go. It is working. Definitely a lot better. Maybe a very like tiny flicker, but overall, this looks good to me. Honestly, I like it. I think that's a huge improvement. Really not much of a flicker at all. Looks pretty smooth actually right now, which is great. So let me go back to Gemini and let's see if there's another package that we can add here. So let's add the Nivo package for charts like we talked about. So I'm going to paste this in. So I'm going to say install Nivo/calendar, create a contribution calendar showing user activity over the last year. Why don't I say create a calendar showing user activity of the last year? So I'll just say calendar, and it should pop up again with the installation prompt to actually install Nivo, and we'll see what it actually looks like. I'm also curious, like what Nivo calendar. Let's see what that actually is. So I just pulled up what the Nivo calendar is, and it's actually really cool. So this is kind of like a GitHub chart, like for tracking the number of GitHub commits that someone would create. This is very common with like tracking and showing like how much you're coding, for example. So it's cool that this is like the power of NPM packages, is that to build this from scratch would be really hard. So with this, all you need is just one line of code. And then you can have this in your app just with, putting the data in the right format, essentially, without having to build this from scratch. So here we're going to approve it and then see what it actually looks like. And I don't know, it might be kind of empty because we don't have a lot of data yet, but we'll see what that actually looks like in practice. Okay, so it is finished. We'll go through. Actually, we can exit out since we don't have to. So that's cool as well. I exited out of that onboarding, but it still has that button until we finish it, which is actually nice that it has that. Again, I think I would want to do it so like for each user, it doesn't keep showing it. But anyway, I will keep it for now. So if we go to activity, here we have our activity map. We can see today is December 5th and already one kind of activity is done I wonder if it's doing that based on done or how it's doing that. But in any case, essentially, if we had, if this was used over time, we would be able to see all the activity here from, I really should probably fix that at some point. We would see all the activity in one place. So I think that's pretty cool that I was able to do that. Why don't I go into discuss mode, and I'm curious to ask Base44, like what other packages might be good to add. So just sent a prompt in discuss mode, so it's not going to actually write code, is what other packages might be good to add to this to improve the design or functionality. So it says you could add React, this specific one for multi-language support. That's interesting. Or a client-side library like Fuse to enhance task searching if your board grows very large. That's actually pretty cool. So why don't we do Fuse? So I'm going to say this might be a cool one to add. So I'll say let's do Fuse for search. And then while it's doing that, I'm going to look up Fuse to learn a little bit more about it. Oops, I'm still in discuss mode. So I have to get out of discuss mode and send it again. And then I pulled up Fuse. So basically it's a lightweight fuzzy search library with no dependencies. Fuzzy search essentially is approximate string matching. It allows you to search based on the text, and you can do it really easily. So it's a good way to add search into our app, again, without having to write any of that from scratch, without having to ask Base44 to do it from scratch. It's just going to work right out of the box. And it's actually cool that Base44 was able to kind of tell me what might be helpful. And AI has some knowledge of packages that it could add. So it's installing it, it's editing the dashboard, going to add a search, we'll approve. And then I guess we should probably add some more tasks so we can actually implement search. Also cool, looks like we can switch the order. So kitchen's on the bottom if I drag it to the top. Actually, that's interesting. I can't switch the order. It looks like no matter what, it's staying in that same order. So that would be another thing to potentially fix. You could do that after this. Let me know what you think of this feature. Let me know in the comments. I'll read all of them. So yeah, I would love to hear. Okay, so it looks like it's just about done. It's still thinking, so I'll wait a second before we test it, even though this popped up again. All right, so we have it. It has searches up there, and let's just exit out. Okay, so let's test this out. We have our search. So now if I search for gym, and yep, it worked correctly. And if I search for kitchen, now it worked correctly. So we added search really easily in, one NPM package. I do want to see if I can change the order. So I'm going to say I want to be able to drag and change the order of tasks within a column. Right now, that doesn't work. All right, I think it's going to work now. Let me drag and go down. And yes, it is working. And I wonder what it did. If I go into the data, now I'm assuming there's an order. Yep, now they added an order to the database. And this is really what makes Base44 so powerful, is you don't have to be technical and understand what's happening behind the scenes and how the database is working and how it's set up. You just tell it what you want, and then it's able to do it for you. So something else I think would be nice is inside the task, or right here, it'd be nice to be able to change the priority without clicking in. So I'm going to ask for that. So I'm just going to say I want to be able to change the priority without clicking into the edit modal. Like it'd be nice to just quickly change the priority without having to go in here and do that. And I know that this is a little bit of a simpler app that we're building, just a Kanban app, but actually some of the simpler apps are hard to get right and hard to make it so it's like actually easy to use. And also I wanted to come up with an example that I knew we could show off some of these NPM packages. And a part of these videos is not to show you, okay, you are going to copy this app step for step. You can definitely do that if you want, but it's to show you what's possible and get you thinking about what apps you want to make for yourself. So the key with all of this is thinking about what are, the use cases that you want to build, and what use cases and problems do you have, whether it's, at your job, at your company, and your personal life that you want to help organize and then create personal, unique software for yourself. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get even more free content like this, and click the link in the description to go to Base44 and start building for free. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.